Mark Dunning, it's the big game against the Leeds Rhinos on Sunday. How are you approaching that game?
Yes, as we were, as we did against Dewsbury and as we would have done against Huddersfield should the game gone ahead. So, it's the last pre-season trial game. We've still got things we're looking at. We're still looking at minor details of what we've been practicing throughout pre-season. And still looking at effort areas and minor details.
When you look at what happened at the weekend and the Halifax game that didn't take place on Boxing Day, those two games that have been called off, has that affected your pre-season preparations ahead of that first game against Whitehaven?
A little bit, we'd be lying if we said it hadn't totally, but we knew well in advance of the Boxing Day game that it wasn't going to go ahead, so it allowed us to adjust training slightly. And again, at the weekend, Mother Nature is stronger than any of us, and she beat not just Bradford Bulls and Huddersfield, but a lot of other games on the weekend. So we adapted training on Tuesday. It was a high intensity physical session, which it wouldn't have been if we'd have played on the Sunday. So you never replicate games within a training session, but we've got as close as we can do.
When you look at this game against Leeds, this is quite a considerable step up. No disrespect to Dewsbury, but it's quite a considerable step up in opposition.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. Yeah, they were the second best team in the country last year, weren't they? So they're littered with internationals and quality, and it's a great venue, and it's something that we're all excited about. So yeah, it's a pre-season trial, but yeah, it's Leeds Bradford as well. So we're looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing some old friends and more importantly seeing how the players fare out on the field.
The squad for the Huddersfield game was down to 21. Are we going to see that for the Leeds game on Sunday?
My plan, Mick, was 25, 21, 19. But with losing the Huddersfield game, we might be in and around 21, 22 again. So, the plan was always to get as close as we could to a 19-man squad. And then the following week, obviously, against Whitehaven, it'll be a 17-man squad. So, we might have to readjust slightly, and we'll have a look at that after training tonight and make that decision tonight.
How important is it that everybody gets an opportunity to get minutes in the legs? I'm probably thinking players probably like Michael Lawrence, Dec Patton, who are obviously going to feature for the first time this season on Sunday.
Yeah, it's important, but again, we're not going to risk anybody, so Dec Patton will play this weekend. Michael Lawrence, I'm not sure yet. He's had an illness. It's nothing to worry about. But with anybody in the squad, they've got to tick some certain boxes within training for me to warrant selecting them. And Michael Lawrence is no different. Although he's our club captain, he's got to do certain things within the training field that allows us to put him up for selection. So I'm not saying no. We'll have a look at him tonight, but I certainly won't be risking him. If I'm not 100% confident that he's ready to go. Because when you do that, you start picking up niggly injuries and things like that. So if I've got to wrap Michael Lawrence in cotton wool, I will do, knowing that he's a good pro, he keeps himself in really good shape, and he'll be ready to go for Whitehaven.
Bodine Thompson, can we expect him to feature against his former club?
Yeah, Bodine Thompson, barring anything that we're not sure about now, and anything that we don't know are happening, yeah, Bodine will feature at the weekend, yeah.
Jordan Baldwinson?
Again, he's on the same level as Bruno there, so we'll have a look again at Jordan tonight, and we'll make a decision after tonight. It's just pre-season trials are just not worth risking anybody. The last thing we want is somebody to, be a couple of days too soon, pull an hamstring or a calf or whatever it might be, and miss 4 to 6 weeks. So we're just erring on the side of caution. There's no need to worry about anything, but I will be cautious and I will wrap anybody I need to in cotton wool.
It's no secret there's sort of a growing respect between yourself and Rowan Smith. Obviously this will be Rowan's sort of first Leeds Bradford derby as head coach. I guess it's going to be a special occasion for the both pair of you.
Yeah, there's a mutual respect and a friendship that's been there since 2016, and we'll stay for a long time, I'm sure. So it's always good to chat with him. It's always good to catch up for a coffee with him, and there's other people at the club as well. Chef Walkers and John Bastings of the world, and rugby league's a small world. And when you work with people closely, you get to know people and become friends. So yeah, it'll be great to see them, but it'll be even better to see our boys out on the field expressing themselves and challenging a really, really good outfit in Leeds.
And of course, when Bradford were there last time in 2020, a sellout crowd of 20,000. It'll be good to see that Western Terrace full with the Bradford supporters once more?
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, you know, our supporters travel everywhere, don't they? They travel in numbers. They're loud and they're proud, and you know, it'll be a great atmosphere, I'm sure. You know, the South Stand will be packed of Leeds supporters, and as you say, the Western Terrace will hopefully be packed of Bradford supporters, and you know, hopefully we can give them a glimpse of what the new Bradford Bulls looks like.
On the recruitment front, obviously, there is that dual reg in place with Leeds. I'm kind of guessing you're not just going to be having a look at the Bradford players, albeit that'll be your primary focus. You will be having a little glance at some of the Leeds players that are going to be featuring, and potentially are they, you know, available to come to Bradford.
Yeah, I'd be lying again if I didn't say that was true. But you know, the first and foremost, it'll be our boys, because they've earned the right to wear the shirt so far. And I've been really open and honest with the guys that we've got the dual reg partnership. We've got, you know, irons in the fire of bringing people in, but they're in possession of the shirts right now. So if they want to keep hold of them, it's up to them to do so. And I'll only bring somebody in who I think makes us better. That might lead to a tough conversation at times, but if it does, that's my job and I've got to get on with it. So, you know, I keep close contact on most games. I'm a bit of a rugby geek, and you know, I like to download the games when they've played, and I watched Leeds' game against Lee, and you know, and there was some standout performances within that as well. So, you know, it's good to see. I got a text from Jared O'Connor the other day, just saying it would be good to catch up, and you know, and it was good to see Jared out there doing well as well. So, yeah, I will keep an eye on them, but my main eyes and my main focus is on Bradford players.
Those irons that you've said have been in the fire, Mark, are any ready to come out?
One of the irons might be hot and ready to iron, but it's not going yet.
No worries. And just finally from me, a reoccurring theme, but everyone seems to be tagging me on Twitter and social media. Kevin Appo, is he any closer to leaving Port Moresby and coming to the wonderful, beautiful, bountiful delights of Bradford?
No, not yet. I spoke to Kev by text on Thursday, yesterday morning. He's still stuck in Port Moresby, and he's literally waiting for somebody to stamp a piece of paper before he can jump on the plane. So, you know, it's control the controllables, make it out of our control. It's out of Kevin's control. There's no point anybody getting stressed about it. You know, the people in Port Moresby that deal with that, you know, them visa applications will do it in their time, and you know, as soon as he gets that piece of paper on his hand, I've got a really supportive CEO who will book him the first flight he needs, and you know, he'll be on the way to sunny West Yorkshire. On
the back of obviously still waiting for that visa to be approved and stamped, I guess it kind of automatically will rule him out of that Whitehaven game.
Not automatically, but again, you know, as I mentioned with Michael Lawrence there, he's got to come and tick some boxes first. You know, there's nobody is guaranteed anything in this team anymore. You know, and that's probably where we fell short a little bit last year. You know, certain people knew that there was in the team no matter what happened. Well, that's not the case this year. There's competition all across the field, strong competition as well. You know, we've got some hungry players, some hungry young players that are chomping at the bit to put their head above the parapet as well. And you know, it creates competition, and it creates a real good work ethic as well. So you know, we'll wait while Kevin lands, and you know, we'll welcome him with open arms. It's going to be great to see him. He's just from talking to him, he seems a fantastic bloke. You'll be shocked at how well he speaks English as well. He's a really, really fluent English speaker, and you know, we'll settle him in, we'll look after him, and get his family over as soon as possible so that he can have, you know, his home comforts in West Yorkshire. But yeah, the playing side will take care of itself once he's been in and around the boys for a bit, and you know, got used to everything.
You know, Mark, about Kevin there, has he been able to do much sort of training fitness work himself, do you know? Or?
Yeah, he's been training hard over there, you know, so he texts me every couple of days and says, I'm still training hard, coach, don't worry, you know, I'm ready to go. So, you know, he sent me a few pictures and things that he's been doing and stuff like that. So it looks in good nick. You never know from a photograph and things like that. And, you know, whatever he's been doing might be different to what we've been doing here. So, you know, we'll just take it as it comes, and when he lands here, you know, we'll assess him. We'll do a full medical assessment and a full strength and conditioning assessment, and then you know, put some things in place to get him up to speed as soon as possible.
So he sounds like he's in good spirits and sort of all packed and ready, because, as you say, it's one of these how long's a piece of string moments.
Yeah. Well, he don't live in Port Moresby, so he's actually travelled there to get his visa application done. And instead of, you know, going back to the village where he lives, he's just staying there ready. You know, so he's got his bags in one hand and he's just waiting for the other hand to be filled with a piece of paper, and then he's on his way.
And obviously this weekend Mick talked about Rowan Smith. I mean, obviously when he was here, it was when sort of things were sort of crashing all around him. I mean, you know, he must have learned quite a lot very quickly there, and you probably, you know, it's probably a great grounding for a coach for where he is now.
Yeah, it was a different environment back then. You know, it was certainly different stability-wise and things like that. And yeah, I'm sure it stood him in good stead. He went back to Australia and was very successful with the North Devils back there. So you know, there'll have been a lot of contributing factors to Rowan Smith's journey. But yeah, I'm sure this was one of them.
You're not surprised he's done as well as he has since taking over a league?
No, I'm not surprised at all. No, you know, I worked with him for a short period, and again, he's a bit of a rugby geek, and you know, he lives and breathes it, and you know, he's always thinking something rugby-wise, and you know, he's an intelligent bloke, you know, and he's always looking at a different way to do things. So, absolutely not surprised at all. He's a great guy, and you know, good luck to him.
Yeah, and more generally, sort of looking ahead to the season now that it's sort of on the doorstep. I mean, you look how competitive it's going to be this year, and you sort of look back to last year. It's all like, you know, we often mention Batley last season, but what they achieved is that sort of a bit of a yardstick for every club to sort of think, you know, it's not necessarily the most money teams are necessarily going to be 1 and 2.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that, but you know, Batley's Batley and we're Bradford, so you know, you don't have to spend the most money to be successful in the comp, but you've got to create the best environment, I believe, and the best camaraderie between the group, and you know, and that's what Batley have always been very, very good at. They've got a strong group and a great team and club work ethic within that. So I like to think our environment's better, our culture's better. You know, it's an holistic one from a club point of view. You know, and I know from speaking to some of the new boys that have come in and some of the old boys that was here last year that they're absolutely delighted with the changes. Yeah.
I mean, is that something you were very big on building? You know, when you got the chance to sort of work on the squad and restructure things a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at the successful teams, you know, of yesteryear, St Helens, your Wigans, Bradfords, you know, in the 90s and early 2000s, they was all built on strong cultures. You know, really, really strong cultures, and I'm a firm believer in that's what needs to happen for any team to be successful. So, you know, we stripped it right back during the pre-season. We made sure that, you know, from the cleaner here to the cleaner at Odsall and the CEO and the chairman at the top, that everybody was thinking the same things and had the same goal, you know, and then we've put that in place.
Yeah, speaking the other day, you said about building a connection and sort of getting a team that, you know, the fans can identify again and be proud of. I mean, how, you know, what sort of team is that? You know, what is the Bradford Bulls team you want them to be proud of? How are they sort of how are they going to look?
Yeah, I think most Bradfordians want to be able to relate to a team. You know, we're a hard-working city. You know, we get bagged as a city for, you know, probably not being the most glamorous and things like that. But most Bradfordians work hard and you know, they roll the sleeves up when it's tough. And I think any of our fans that come to games or that watch the games want to see a Bradford Bulls team that gives 100% effort at all times, and that's a minimum standard for us this year. On the back of that, we've added some flair and some knowledge and some know-how that we think once we get the minimum standards of effort and enthusiasm and things like that, then we can sprinkle a little bit of gold dust on that as well.
And it's also restoring a bit of faith on the terraces, isn't it? Because obviously, you know, they got battered a bit last year, didn't they? And you know, the fans want lifted and want to believe in this club again, don't they? I
think you've hit the nail on the head. They've been battered for years. You know, the fans of this club have been battered about for years, and they just want something to believe in. They want something that looks genuine, that they can connect to, that they can believe in, and I think they've got that of this squad this year.
In terms of where the squad is now, Mark, you know, from perhaps when you started off towards the end of last season, you know, sort of on your notebook and what have you, writing names and writing positions and what have you. I mean, how close is it to what you would have envisaged from the start?
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting very close. You know, we've had weekly, you know, 2-3 times a week, you know, through pre-season recruitment and retention meetings with the board. We had a list. We've missed out on a couple of them people, and that's, you know, that's common. That's human nature. They've gone elsewhere, or they've stayed where they were, whatever. But yeah, if you'd have told me the position we're in now at the start of pre-season and asked me if I'd have taken it, I would have done, yeah.
Featherstone have beaten 2 Super League teams in pre-season. Are you interested in creating a similar story for yourselves, or is it more about performance on Sunday?
No, that's Featherstone's story, you know, and good luck to Featherstone. I actually went to the UKR game on Friday night just because needed a rugby fix, and you know they played very well, and Sean Long's got them you know, doing what he wants them to do. But yeah, I'm not focused on Featherstone whatsoever. I'm just looking at Bradford, and it's, you know, it's a process event on Sunday. Although it's Leeds Bradford, and although it's, you know, a big occasion for our supporters, it's a pre-season trial for us, and it's a process rather than an outcome event.
You've spoken a lot about Michael Lawrence. Is his sort of experience, does that mean that when it comes to like round one, or if round two, if he's not ready for round one, you can just throw him in without having any minutes in pre-season because he's such a professional?
Yeah, I mean, Michael's missed a couple of weeks of training, that's all. You know, so there's no problems whatsoever. You know, it's really important that we get that out there. He's had an illness and he's missed a couple of weeks of training. But the new culture within this group means that he needs to do a few things to get back into the you know, into the reckoning for selection. So I'm not saying definitely no on Sunday, but if it's not on Sunday, I'm pretty sure it'll be a yes against Whitehaven.
And after you settled on the first choice half-back combination, you've got a lot of options in that sort of spine. You mentioned it earlier about the depth. Have you settled on anything yet? No, not yet. It's a bit like playing fantasy football with the halves options that we've got, especially compared to what we had last year. So, you know, there's still things I want to see on Sunday. You know, we've not seen deck pattern, you know, for well, since the bash last year. So, you know, we'll have a look at different options and different ways within that. You know, there's another addition to the spine this week. George Robe is back with us now after completing pre-season with Huddersfield Giants, so he'll come into the equation as well at the weekend. You know, so there's more stuff to jig about and roll about there, and we'll have a look at it all on Sunday. Fantasy football, it does feel like a really exciting time at Bradford. You must be really excited for this season.
Really excited, yeah. It's, you know, it feels like a different place, you know. But we're also really conscious that nothing's started yet. Never mind, you know, being won yet. So we'll continue to work hard. It's all been built on hard work through pre-season. We'll continue to work hard, continue to be really humble, and challenge each other daily, and see where that takes us.
Talk about sort of culture and things. Circling back to Kevin Apper, the fact that he's training, that he's moved, does that just show you how committed he is, and is that sort of like a microcosm of what this squad is all about this year? Yeah, absolutely. You know, Kevin's coming over here. We're obviously paying him. You know, he's not coming over here for you know, to work for free or anything. But we're not throwing daft money at Kevin. He's coming over here because he wants to come here. He's coming here because he wants to play for the Bradford Bulls. And I know full well he had different offers from within the English game, and you know, he decided that the Bradford Bulls was right for him. So you know, that is part of the culture. You're exactly right, and it's part of the, you know, people being in the building that want to be in the building, and that's something that we're really keen on.
Matt, just one quick one. Brad, England, he wasn't due to feature against Huddersfield due to a rib injury. What's the latest on him? Will we expect him back this weekend? Yeah, he trained on Tuesday, so you know, it was a little bit sore afterwards. Again, you know, if we need to wrap him in cotton wool, we'll do. It's a cartilage injury rather than a fracture or a break or anything like that. You know, from the late tackle against Dewsbury, but we'll see how beefy he is when he comes in tonight. He's a tough kid, and it's one of them that he's going to have to play with some pain at some point. Otherwise, it'll be 6 to 8 weeks. You know, if he's waiting to play without pain. So again, it's nothing to worry about at all. You know, it's just about what he can manage pain-wise. And just on the back of what, sorry, is it Cameron? What Cameron's just said about the half-back situation, you're kind of blessed, I guess, in that 9 position now, aren't you? You know, you've got George Flanagan, Jordan Lilly, who really took a duck to water in that Dewsbury game, and George Rogan. Yeah, and if you remember back to the Dewsbury game, Miles Lawford played there, Tom Holmes played there, Jayden Barraclough had a spell in there as well, young Jayden. So yeah, we've got plenty of options, Mick, and it's really pleasing.